In this lesson's episode, you will learn how to apply the habits of highly effective people to drive lasting behavior change across organizations. Discover key principles like empathy, accountability, and reinforcement, and how they foster a resilient, high-performing culture. You'll also gain insights into leading effectively in remote work and navigating today's evolving challenges. So now you have the ability to go in and impact and influence organizations. But I would assume that as you do that, there's, of course, a lot more nuances than just somebody who is internally motivated who wants to pick up the book and change. Now you have an organization, you're trying to invoke change across a business unit because a certain leader wants that change to happen. They respect what you do. So how do you best take the works of Dr. Covey, as well as all the other individuals who you've partnered with and the years of experience, and what is the best practice to actually, across a business unit, change the behaviors and habits and perhaps unlock leadership across an entire team and make sure that those changes stick and are permanent and are long-lasting?
And for all of your listeners who think about behavior change, this is a field that is known. And one of the things that we say in behavior change and behavior change experts is, and you can just apply this to yourself, you can read about what you should do to manage your blood sugar. You can read about it. Now, if someone is really managing their blood sugar, they often have regular check-ins to check in, holding themselves accountable, maybe with, in this case, a physician. But as you think of behavior change in your organization, a coach, you have to learn a lot. So you learn, you work on mindset, you have a reinforcement path to keep that going. All of those components have to come together for behavior change to happen in an organization. And when you're talking about more than one person, you also have to have that cultural support. So leaders have to bring it into their language. It has to be recognized. I'll use some 7 Habits language. That clearly was someone going for a win-win, right? I can see how we came together to creative collaborate. We came up with something better than any of us could have come up with on our own. Things that come out of that, so people see this is what's culturally acceptable. And frankly, you have to see improved results. Is it that you want more resilience to change? Is it that, frankly, with the 7 Habits have been used significantly lately to help people in a virtual working environment? Are you seeing improved collaboration, retention, results? People have things they want to achieve. I'm making sure that you've got that measurement component in addition to the sustainability path.
And I think that all those lessons, like you mentioned, even like especially the measurability and accountability and culture, there's probably a similar word that can be used to describe something that is encapsulating your own life, but all those things that you use for success at an organizational level, I think that's what psychologically goes through somebody who actually does implement positive change on themselves as they sort of go through these steps, just at a different scale, of course.
Different scale, yeah, agreed.
But I want to, and the reason why I bring that up, every time I speak to somebody who I feel is a strong leader, the word you mentioned was, I think, professional. I can't remember what it was. Professional. What you describe what you do as an organization. There was a word for it.
We do behavior change. We do personal and professional development.
I think it was something. That is what it is. I thought you had a really good word for it, but it doesn't really matter. I think the point I'm trying to get across is when organizations hire somebody to come in for a day, and they do like an 8-hour day, and they try and fix the entire organization, or they try and fix an entire thing. And I just come from like a sales background, and I remember the amount of times, both as an individual contributor or the higher up as director or VP, when you'd have like a CEO coming in and saying, I want to hire a sales coach for a day or something like that. And it's a waste of money. It's 100% a waste of money, because there's psychological drivers, there's cultural drivers, there's all these things you have to have in line for that effective long-term behavioral change, positive behavioral change.
Positive. I mean, you're so right. When you think of FranklinCovey clients, folks that work with us, organizations, we really know that there are three kinds of buyers that will come and approach us. One is an event. And if I'm clear and you were saying, I want you, Jen, to speak at this keynote, I would just want to manage expectations to the conversation we're having. What do you want them to know, feel, anything you might want them to do out of this 90-minute speech? Then there's some that are capability. You know, we've promoted all of these highly technical people into a first level leader role. And I just need a few days so they even have a picture of what that looks like. And then there's some that if you truly want a behavior change, there has to be some level of sustainability. Even if it's, we invest some time with you, live online or live, they have some on-demand elements that they take. They have coaching, they have manager accountability. There's lots of ways that behavior change can be implemented, but and sometimes, and you know this, I bet you were one of these people, you can find people who will see a speech and think, okay, I'm going to do that. Right? Yeah. You know, it's like someone hearing a runner and their plan for how they got to be able to do a half marathon. And you're thinking, I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do that. But that is just that is not going to move an organization. You'll get individuals.
I want to also understand. I do want to speak a little bit about 7 habits. Like because it's not like going deeper into the book itself is going to be anything outside of what I really want to cover in the interview anyways. But just in terms of, you know, you've worked with a whole bunch of organizations. There's a lot of leadership lessons that you've implemented over the years. What is an organizational issue? And I think, you know, if anyone's listening to this, it's going to be quite obvious. But COVID, work from home, remote, what are some things that you're seeing with organizations, things that they're struggling with? How are you solving those through these habits or other lessons that you teach them that's relevant right now?
You know, there's a couple of things. If you think about adapting to our current environment, let's put aside the virtual work, which is a big piece, and just start with where people are in the challenging environment. And of course, we've had a minute to adjust, but now we have, maybe your children are going back to school, maybe they're not. Maybe you think they're going to go and they'll be home in a couple of weeks. There's this constant flux of change, huge. And unfortunately, and I know some on my own, in fact, my husband's uncle passed from COVID. It's even life-threatening, right? There is real life challenges, and then day-to-day, I'm only living day-to-day because I have to adapt. The key piece there that comes out of the 7 habits or other content that we utilize is having, and it's a skill set, but it's also a mindset. None of our skills matter if you don't have the right mindset, is, do you have empathy? And when I say empathy, of course, if you work in an organization, things have to get done. But can you stop the train that says these 3 tasks need to be done and this is what, and actually listen to people in a way that you've taken off? I mean, the best way to say it, you take off your hat and you put on theirs. You're not trying to respond. You're not trying to solve. You're not trying to judge, but you're truly getting the feeling that they are feeling about what, because I think our deepest human need is to be understood. And right now, people are really stressed out. I think some of the reactions that we're seeing are normal reactions to an abnormal situation. So that balance, especially if you're a leader, of relationship and empathy and results, of course, if your organization is still, whether it's in a pivot mode or a thriving mode, if you're still a viable concern, you need to get things done. But do you have empathy? Can you slow down in this situation? And then, of course, it gets to the actual productivity for those of us who are lucky enough to have jobs, but doing them on a screen like this all day, every day.
Yeah.
There's a whole different piece of skill sets there that are critical. I mean, from the very technical. Does your microphone work? Do you have good lighting? What's your background?
Internet.
Do you have good internet, right?
Yeah.
There's all of those components, as well as selling in a virtual environment. Very different. How you make a contrast between you and possible other providers, how you're clear and concise. Selling in another environment, getting work done, holding yourself accountable. If you think of first level leaders, I personally think one-on-ones and that ability to ensure that you do your one-on-ones are more critical than ever, so people don't get disconnected. More team communications. And frankly, one of the things that I often say is the number one career advice I give people when they say, give me career advice. Are you helping people build emotional resilience? And I'm not talking about like true clinical anxiety. That's outside of my scope of expertise. But ongoing low-grade anxiety, are you helping them recognize what they can influence when not everything is in our control or influence? Here's what we can influence. Let's focus on what we can do in a really abnormal situation.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you want to dive deeper into this conversation, check out the links in the description to watch the full episode. See you in the next one.